Hello, good morning and welcome to Trading the European Open Live, and you're joining us. My name's Tim and you're very welcome to join us here at the Live Trade Room. So just briefly, just to fill you in terms of what we're looking to do, we're looking to identify some high probability trading opportunities during the European Open. So what we're exclusively doing is looking at the first 2 or 3 hours of the European Open to look for those opportunities and see if we can capitalize on some good high probability trading opportunities. Okay, so our approach is very much trend analysis with a strong focus on price action, which we have a bit of a process that we look to adopt, which what we do first of all, we have a bit of a process for us to identify really high probability trading opportunities. Then we focus and narrow down our ability to execute those trades. So you'll see a number of different markets up on screen. Then of course, if we get into these markets, it's then about our trade management, which will determine consistently how much profit we make or how much we're exposing in these markets. So a series of important discussions will be had, and with one aim, and that's to make consistent returns. So so without further ado, then, if I could draw attention to our risk warning, just to please make sure you familiarize yourself with the risk warning currently up on screen. Okay, so so just before we get into the charts, then let's do a quick review of potential market moving news. So for this, we'll get up Forex Factory. The reason why it's very important to monitor the flow of news is the last thing you want to do as a trader is to be looking to get into certain markets in advance of some major news events, and that's really the problem. So for this, we'll get up trading, we'll get for Forex Factory up on screen, and as you can see from a news flow perspective, outside of the more macro events, we have very little news to concern ourselves with. So we do have a German IFO business climate number coming out at 9 AM. The impact on this on the euro is relatively mild. Might see a little bit of volatility if it's way in excess of the forecast, but apart from that, it's pretty much built into the markets. And of course, everyone in the UK, it is a bank holiday, so so that's more that is very much, we're likely to see reduced volume as a result of a big financial centre like London and finance in the UK taking a day off. So we're likely to see that play out in the charts, but bearing that in mind and just looking forward to the week ahead, we have a couple of GDP figures, one out on Wednesday impacting the US dollar and another one on Thursday impacting the Canadian dollar. But apart from that, not an awful lot to really focus on for the week. Lots of minor information coming out. So relatively quiet week as far as news flow is concerned. So let's get straight into these charts and we'll see what opportunities might present themselves. Okay, so starting with the euro dollar. So we have our weekly high there at the 1639. We had a brief kind of break above it, but as you can see, what's happened since is a really strong pullback, and this is on a weekly time frame. So let's flick over to the daily. So we're still running into this level here of resistance as far as things are concerned. I just want to just show you the perhaps price action on an hourly chart. So just looking at an hourly chart, what we're seeing is a strong move to the downside. I hope you would agree, from early August. And in the middle of the month, we've had a pretty consistent turnaround, and this is on an hourly time frame. So let's just scale up to the 4 hour. And what this shows us is almost a head and shoulders pattern, isn't it? If we look at this on a 4 hour time frame, and we reach this low, the 1300 effectively, that's a pretty effective head and shoulders. So I do hate drawing these head and shoulder platforms, but just want to draw your attention. And a 4 hour time frame is a significant time frame. So let's say this is shoulder. This would formulate a bit of a head just in and around this area, and then we get another pretty symmetrical shoulder just in and around, navigating the 1550 level, the 1547. So what we're doing now is we're looking at these levels in here, and we were discussing during this sort of pullback period there last week that all we're simply doing effectively is bouncing off the lows, and it became a pullback. But now, as of Thursday and Friday of last week, we've attempted to make a new lower, which failed as it did previously here, and we failed again at that level. And we've now seen the attempted push higher. So actually a close above the weekly high of the 1639 is actually a very important level. So that is the game changer potentially to the upside that we could be looking for. So so I just thought I'd draw your attention to that little piece of technical analysis there. But looking at it on a daily time frame, we're still running into a pretty strong level of resistance around this area. Now we don't want it to be too bullish just yet, but or even bearish for that matter. We're kind of in a neutral pattern for the short term when we look at the euro dollar. So we'll just monitor the euro dollar, the pound dollar on a weekly time frame. on Friday's candlestick was, if I just show you on the daily time frame, sorry, Thursday was a strong reversal, unwinding the price action of the previous 2 days. Friday's price action tried to attempt to retrace much of that move and obviously failed and is struggling to sort of break higher. So again, if we get some dollar strength coming into the market, we'll be looking to sell this market beneath those lows. The dollar yen. So we're getting a bit of selling coming into this area just during the Asian Open. So again, this isn't really giving us a fantastic opportunity to necessarily even buy or sell this market just yet, but it could do very shortly. The dollar Swiss creating a bit of a low here around this level, bit of a structure, a bit of a supporting price action in here around the 8,900 level. And there's a couple of levels, important levels. We've got the weekly low in the red and the major significant level, the 97.90 level in blue. And not much is just happening just yet. So a break of these levels would be a really strong potential sell trade. Similar situation for the dollar CAD. A break of these lows to the downside would give us a really strong opportunity to sell this market, but we're getting a bit of buying come in at these lows. A bit of a gap lower, and now we're just extending to the upside a little bit more. So a bit of a choppy picture for the dollar CAD. The Aussie dollar bouncing off the lows. This is a weekly time frame, so we'll switch to the daily, and I'll do the same for the dollar Swiss, even though we've extended lower and we've simply just moved sideways off that low. So those two levels are still fairly important for us. The Aussie dollar is an interesting one because, again, like the euro dollar, we're actually running into resistance. So Friday's price action was a complete reversal of Thursday's. So that just, you know, shows you the kind of the volatility, the choppy sort of market conditions that we're currently experiencing in the Aussie dollar as we look at it. So we're beginning to see the sell-off occur around the 73.38. So actually, we would like to be selling this market. So we'll keep an eye on the Aussie dollar to the downside and see if it gives us some opportunity on a smaller time frame. So we're already sort of creating this bit of structure in here, and we're just flushing lower. So we'll see how we get on. And as you can see, these markets go through these periods where we just get a bit of sideways moving price action on a few occasions, you know, to varying different extents, before we get the flush to the downside or to the upside. So that's the market conditions in which you need to trade. Patience is really so potentially we're looking to see if we capitalize on this move lower before it goes into another sideways moving pattern. Okay, so that's the Aussie dollar. So we'll come back to that one. Let's have a look at the New Zealand dollar now. Again, on Friday we retraced a lot of Thursday's bearish price action, but we're still running into this level of resistance. You can still see the potential for this market to push lower. This market is very much in the same boat as the Aussie dollar. So we'll come back to this market and see what opportunities may exist. Yeah, so we do have the euro pound on a daily time frame. On Friday we extended above the 90.31. With all the Brexit negotiations, we don't really expect this market to continue higher. It's more likely to remain inside a lot of this sort of sideways moving price action. And don't forget, back in March and April time, we had an explosive move lower. At that point, we didn't necessarily fancy going with the pound at that point. So we had the reversal And similar situation up here. We don't really fancy this market going long either. So certainly with a lot of major negotiations to be had between Europe and the UK, we think there's plenty of scope for some continuing sideways moving price action in this market. So even if we do get a little bit of a break to the upside, we're more likely to get prices coming back inside these two ranges. So of course we shall wait and see, and if something significant changes we can obviously change our opinion, but that's kind of how things stand for us right now. Euro yen, interesting trade, really strong pullback to previous levels of support in and around these levels. We do expect this market to make a little bit of a move in favor of the yen, and we're beginning to see it creep into the dollar. So these might be markets that we shall have a close look at. The better trade, or the higher probability trade, very well may be the pound yen. So we do have these lows just stacking up here. Be interesting to see how price behaves around those lows. So we'll come back to this market as well and see what opportunity may exist. So on the forex side, we've identified the Aussie dollar for weakness, the New Zealand dollar for weakness, and also the euro yen and the pound yen for weakness as well, specifically against the yen. So maybe those are the trades. If the dollar yen is strengthening if the yen is strengthening against the dollar and the dollar is strengthening against the euro and the pound, maybe the euro yen and pound yen would marginally be our preferred trades. So we'll come back to these markets and see. Moving on to the gold market, you can see last week's price action was really strong in the end. We have the potential for a little bit of resistance around these levels. So we're always saying during this period it would be better for us to sell these markets at these slightly higher levels. I just changed that to our intraday color, which for us is a violet color. So and that's exactly what's kind of happening if we identify these levels. Looking for an opportunity to sell gold might be worthwhile, but we kind of want to see a little bit more than just this. So we will have a look at it, but we will, and sort of looking at this sort of price action in here, it's currently sideways moving. What we could do is take note of the lows and see how price behaves around this slightly lower price. We do have the 1200 just below it, could provide some support of price. So need to keep a few of our options open sort of mentally with a few of these markets right now. Now this week has the potential to be a little bit lighter again, just due to the fact that it's the last week of the holiday season really, and we will start seeing volumes start to increase potentially over the course of this week. We'll obviously have to wait and see, but we'll monitor trading volumes pretty closely this week just to see, do we get some explosive moves in some of these markets. Okay, so so the US oil market is an interesting one. So we've got a little bit of a bounce off the low. You know, does it fit in with our sort of bearish view on this market? It kind of still does. This is still a market which has created a high, a low, it's pulled back. We've created another low in this market, and we've pulled back from this. So where's this market likely to go to next? It's likely to push lower. We're just not too sure for how. We'll have to be sort of careful. So that's effectively the market patterns from a price action perspective. So could we look for an opportunity to sell it? Yes. Do we need to see a little bit more than what we're seeing now? Yes, we do. So maybe tomorrow it might give us a much better opportunity, or maybe later today. So we might come back to this market. Now looking at the, we've got an interesting situation occurring in the US equities. They're now in a state where they're looking stronger. Now we had low-level talks. The US had low-level talks with China, and there is the sentiment that actually the potential deal is quite good for the US at this stage. Now we haven't really seen a rebuttal or China come back with anything of significance in terms of, I suppose, their response to this, and I'm sure they will have one. So that's what's going to make trading these markets quite interesting. And if we get some continuation, see, now we are above the 28.78 for the US equities. We'll see what appetite there is for these markets to push higher. And the Nasdaq is above the weekly high as well as the 75.16. So there is a bit of nervousness with the equity picture. So we'd much prefer to trade these during sort of normal market conditions, if that makes sense. There's a bit of a kind of a choppy view, let's say, but certainly we can adopt a bit more of a bullish stance today, and certainly maybe for the next few days, but we want to be very careful with our entries. So what we might do is look at one of these, and let's look at the S&P. We'll have a look at this on a smaller time frame. So we're currently in a sideways moving market, as you can see. So so in terms of just a very, very brief review, there's potential bullish price action unfolding in the equity stories. We're going to have a look at the gold market, which would be a correlated dollar trade, and let's look at the euro yen and the pound yen, just for that yen strength. And I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll focus on the Aussie dollar to continue lower. So that's our trade view. So what we'll do is we'll start by, that's our trading plan, should I say. We'll start with the S&P. So so that can go top right. Excuse me. So we'll keep a close eye on this price action, and regarding the gold market, can go bottom right. So this just obviously allows us to see these markets in real time as they unfold. One level I'm just interested in just identifying at this stage would be just this range low and this range high is just an interesting bit of price action. So we'll see how this market unfolds. So we'll keep an eye on these three. So with regards to the currency pairs, we'll be able to throw 3 of these in. Let's start top left. So we'll stick the euro yen just top left for now, and the pound yen. We'll just tidy this up just a little bit. So, and then the final market is just the Aussie dollar. So we'll put this bottom left. So, okay, this is our trade plan. These are the markets we're going to focus on for the session. So we have a bit of a process for us to identify what we call high probability trading opportunities, and that's going through a bit of a process in terms of multi-time frame analysis and really deciding which of these markets are running into support and resistance, which one are giving us probably the higher probable successful opportunities to capitalize on a bit of a move in a predetermined direction. So for us, we're looking for opportunities to sell the euro dollar, sell the euro yen, sell the pound yen, and as things currently stand, looking for an opportunity to sell the Aussie dollar as well. In addition to that, we're looking for S&P strength, US 500 strength, and the gold market potentially looking to sell off if we get a little bit of a break beneath these lows. So we do have the fact that we are trading summer markets still technically, so volumes may be less. Last week was a particularly choppy week under those conditions, so we hope the markets are going to iron out a little bit, and when we do our analysis, we get into these trades, we're kind of hoping to see a little bit of movement, and if they just sort of break and move sideways, then they're synonymous of sort of summer moving markets where the liquidity could be light, and the markets are a little bit more prone to manipulation. So that's what's difficult about trading these financial markets now, especially during the summer periods. Like I said, we're very likely to get a little bit of a thrust of a little bit more volatility coming into these markets, but we'll probably monitor volatility a lot this week and see what the state of play is on the volatility side. So it'll be a good week as far as sort of easing ourselves into the moves when they start to develop and to unwind. We're looking normally the most volatile period of the year can be between September and probably going right up to Christmas. So we do have a good sort of 4 months of solid trading opportunities to speculate on. The trading these markets over the summer months, July and August, can obviously provide a little bit of mixed results. Yes, you can capitalize on some really good moves, but you just need to be at your trading desk firstly, and these markets can move at all sorts of different times during the day. So from a logistical or a practical perspective, it can be a little bit difficult. So I'm just keeping a close eye on all of these. So we shall see what opportunities unfold as the day unfolds. So like we say, we don't have any major news flow to concern ourselves with, apart from the more macro, the bigger outlook really, which is very much this sort of global trade war tension, which is impacting the markets without doubt. It'll be interesting to see how they impact the markets in September. Will the S&P be so eager to be pushing higher? We of course do not know, but we shall watch very, very closely and see how we get on. Okay, so let me see then. Okay, so let's go into each of these markets then, and we'll do a little bit more analysis just to set us up for the move. What are we looking to do and how are we looking to trade it? So we've had a bit of a rejection of the weekly high, which is the 129.41, and it's bounced off very nicely on 129.66. So 129.66. So somewhere in and around this area has it's probably a medium to strong level of support and resistance. It's probably exactly why this market has bounced off that specific level. So let's go into that again, 15-minute time frame. So literally in and around this area is a strong level of resistance. So we haven't really attempted to attack that level once more, which is a potential. excuse me. What we'll do is we'll just